In this episode, I go into the very tough topic of letting go of negative and toxic people. Welcome to Monologues by Hassie. A while back, I received a text message that was incredibly negative. Now, it wasn't directed at me, it was somebody complaining about something in their lives in a very unproductive and unhelpful way. Now, I always have a lot on my plate. There's a lot of people who come to me for help for certain things. I'm also trying to improve my life and take myself in a very different direction. It's something I've been doing for a while. If you've listened to this podcast, you will know I'm somebody who sets goals and then tries to achieve them. And even if I have setbacks, I will be retrospective, look at what I did and try again or modify what it is that I'm trying to do. And so when I saw this message, I immediately thought, I just do not have the energy to deal with this. And I realized that this particular person has been negative for the entire period that I've known them, which has been multiple years. And I realized the thought that do I actually have to respond to this person? And it's very hard for me to not do that. There is a big part of me, which for a very long time, and I think much worse when I was younger, when I was in my teens, when I was in my early 20s, that I needed to please everybody who came to. But I'm realizing that this is no longer possible. Why? Because I have obligations, I have dreams, I'm going to have responsibilities to other people in the future, and that means I can't entertain everything that comes my way, especially when it's negativity. So it is very, very, very difficult for me to have to let go of these negative people. And I realize that I look at this person, I want to help. I really, really, really do want to help them. I want them to do better. In fact, I wish that they eventually do better. But the cold, hard fact is that the way they want me to help them is by draining me of my resources and energy and ultimately not even improving their own situation and clearly making mine worse. It's a lose-lose situation because in the past, they've used me as, an emotional temp where I'm just a receptacle to release negativity, to temporarily feel good about themselves and go about without actually changing their ways. And despite the fact that obviously I want the whole world to do better, and if people know me, it's like I'm the type of person, I want everyone to rise. And I always think it's amazing when somebody goes past me and I'm like, yeah, I remember back in the day when they were just getting started and I got to help. But with this particular individual and some other people I know, that is not the case. And now in general, with this person, it's been very tough because I've had to say, yeah, I do not have the energy to entertain all of your negativity. With some other people, it's when the negativity comes, it's being very clear that I'm not going to entertain this negativity right now. If I can help you, I'll help you up to the capacity that I can help, but come back, right? I don't want to deal with the snarky comments. There are better uses of my time and my energy. I ultimately realized that certain people want to consume you and give you toxicity in such a way that even if they do genuinely want help, they will destroy you in that process. And I realized by trying to help this one person, there is going to be 1,000 people in my future who I'm not going to be able to help because I'm not going to become the person I need to be to actually help people who are also going to help themselves and not steal my energy. So it is a very tough decision. I don't enjoy doing it. But ultimately, everyone has fixed resources, and this person, despite knowing that there is a lot of information I put out there in the world, like this podcast, never actually wants to go through and listen to a lot of the things we might have talked about in the past, which I also put on this podcast. They want to consume me in the most expensive way possible. And naturally, of course, that's great. They get tailored advice, but they're not actually doing the work that they can be doing. And when I see people complaining about an issue in the same way they were 5 or 6 years ago, it's clear that they're stuck and it's very unfortunate. But I realized by even engaging with that person, with that negativity, and even though it wasn't directly directed to me, they were being negative about something else that they encountered towards somebody else that they encountered in their lives, I just did not want to engage with that energy because I realized there's a lot of things that I'm doing right now where I need to keep my head held high. And yes, there are days where I have negative thoughts and I feel negative and I need to work through those. And I'm always willing to help people out. And so I can feel drained very easily when I get to the end of my week because so many people have come to me for advice for their problems. And at the end of the day, I just need time to sit with myself and regain my energy, recompose myself so I could go out into the world. And yeah, it was tough. So like there are going to be toxic individuals in your life. And I think a lot of people allow things to go on for too long. And so the very, I guess, tough realization I'm having, and I think especially getting to 30. Once I got to 30, I think I hit 30 and I saw a message like this and I said, shit, life's short. Do I want to be dealing with this for another 5 years? You already entertained it for the past 5 years. And imagine how much of your time and your energy that sapped out. Where could you have been right now? And I know I didn't actually help this person because, like I said, I clearly realized that they felt good temporarily and then they would go and repeat the same bullcrap all over again. And so even minimizing time with somebody like that is not good enough. I just realized I needed to be decisive. And a big part of me still in the future wants to reach out to this person and say, hey, now that I've gone and done some stuff that I needed to devote energy to, here's why I did not get back to you. Here's why your energy repulsed me. But then, is that actually worth it? Do people actually want that? The answer is most people don't. Like, I've worked in companies where you do not want to be the bearer of bad news. Everyone would rather bury their head in the sand than confront something. They would rather let everything fall to shit around them than actually hear something that is uncomfortable. And so is it even worth me being that generous? Which leads me to another point, is that some of these people who are toxic and have very, I guess, extremely negative mentalities. Now, that's not to say, like I said, I go through negativity. A lot of my friends go through negative periods and we're all there to help each other. But I think there's a big difference when somebody is overwhelmingly a negative person and when they just exude this toxicity that depletes everybody else around them, right? Huge energy vampires. Is that sometimes they're actually aware that they're taking advantage of you, and I haven't really realized this. I've been maybe oblivious or pushing down the reality that they are completely aware that they're taking advantage of you and your help, and they're utilizing the fact that they know that, hey, maybe this person's, they're clearly smart. There's something about them that I'm attracted to because they're doing things with their lives and they're improving. And I also know they're a people pleaser, so I'm going to suck up their time. And I think a lot of these people are aware of this and they're unwilling to meet you halfway, like I said, when it comes to help. And the same applies when we're talking about letting go of toxic people. Let go of a lot of the toxic media and external influences that are coming into your life. One thing that I've done for a few months is I significantly reduced the amount of news media, social news media that I'm consuming. And I've never felt better because I get to focus on issues that are happening in my local community around me. Yes, there's a lot of horrible things out in the world. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't care about what happens to other people. This doesn't mean I don't go and read the news, but I'm doing it at a frequency where I am not being consistently bombarded with these issues that 100 years ago or 200 years ago, the standard human wouldn't have been expected to deal with. And at the same time, does that make somebody from 150 years ago worse than you are now? No, it's just back then they didn't have this little information hot pocket streaming to them all this negativity and toxicity in the world. And so I realized that the topic of this podcast isn't probably the happiest thing. And in fact, it really makes me unhappy to know that there are people, not that I can't help, but there are people that I shouldn't help because of the way that they behave. And unfortunately, there are people who are stuck. And so I realized that I shouldn't be subsidizing their toxicity. And I should go let them figure things out because I realize I'm probably making their situation worse. And I'm definitely making my own situation worse. And that is a very tough decision for me to make. It's not something that I'm comfortable doing. It's never been the type of person who I thought I'd be. But as you get older, you realize that A, your time is limited. B, you can look at the historical trend of your relationship with the person. Have they been overwhelmingly toxic? Are they just a problematic people to deal with? And maybe people are going to listen to this episode and think this is a very selfish thing to say. And I'm sure some of those people might say that, wow, Hassius is just so selfish. It's not giving me the time and space and energy. But at the end of the day, I need to protect myself first before I go out and help other people. That's a core tenet. And if somebody has demonstrated time and time again that they can't meet you halfway when they want your time, when they want your attention, it's not a great long-term thing. And I'm trying to be cognizant of this when I ask people for help. It's to be very grateful and appreciative of their time, and really, I don't want to take too much from them. I realize even if they give me 5-10 minutes, that's super, super valuable, right? And I'm happy to accommodate people. And I realize not everybody has that perspective that, hey, other people have lives, other people have goals, other people don't want to be bombarded with your negativity. There is a way to get help in a way that is a win-win situation, and that you shouldn't try to consume people when you're trying to get help from them. It's almost like sometimes somebody's drowning, and when you try to save them, they try to drown you as well. It's like that story of the scorpion and the frog trying to cross a river. The frog's like, well, if I take you across the river, you're going to sting me. And the scorpion says, no, I won't sting you. Why? Because if I sting you while we're crossing the river, we're both going to drown. And so the frog decides, very foolishly, to take the scorpion on its back. And as they're halfway across the river, it feels a sharp sting and begins sinking. And the frog says, why did you sting me? We're both going to drown. And the scorpion replies, I can't help it. I'm a scorpion. And I've had to realize that there are certain people like that in the world, and it is not ultimately my responsibility to help them in the way they want. And I've realized that by trying to help people like that, who are incredibly toxic and negative, that I'm actually enabling their failure, and I'm also contributing to my own. So think about the people in your life who routinely bring you negative things. And maybe it is a case where you can't let go of these people because of very tightly coupled relationships. Maybe there's somebody you have to deal with. But is there a way that you can handle that? And so you can go about your mission. You can become the amazing person that you need to become and do the amazing things you need to do. So ultimately, you can help more people in the future. So have a think about that. And to all of you listening to this episode, as always, I wish you great success on all your endeavors. You've just made it through another episode of Monologues by Hassie. It brings me great pleasure to know that you made it to the end. To listen to more episodes, subscribe on your favorite podcast app or visit monologuesbyhassie.com. Thanks for swinging by.